Okay, here's a video of how to hook up a car stereo in your room. What I've got is two 15-inch subs in a sealed box, two duals in a bandpass, and a 12-inch dub in a sealed box. The duals are 12-inch also. Back here I have, you're not going to believe it, 4 power supplies. I've got like a 180 watt power supply here. I've got 200 or 300 watt power supplies back here, about 14-15 amps per 12 on a single 12 volt rail. And I've got a 580 watt power supply with 25 amps on a single 12 volt rail. We've got a 1 farad capacitor, a 2000 watt 2-channel Wolfenhog amplifier, and a 500 watt 2-channel Kenwood amplifier. One of the power supplies back here is only powering the Kenwood amp. The other 2 power supplies are the 500 and the bottom one are powering the 2000 watt amplifier. Now, if you're wondering how to use a computer power supply to power all this, well, it's pretty simple actually. All you do is get one with some kind of wiring harness. Normal modular should work, but you get nice pair of wire snippers, cut out all the yellow, which is your 12 volt positive, and get the black wires that were right next to them inside the same plug, and pull the same number of black wires also. The black is your ground, the yellow is your 12 volt positive. You put the yellow right into your battery, and then you can either do a jumper wire to your remote on, or you can have a little switch, what I've got, where you got your common black, and then auxiliary 1, auxiliary 2. With this switch I can have this amp on only, or this amp on, or both of them on. Pretty nice. But when it comes to your capacitor, you run all your yellow directly to the positive side. I've got 12 gauge extension wires to go from my power supplies, and then you run your black to the negative side, and then you only need, if you've got a small power supply like a 20 or 25 amp on a single 12 volt rail, you only need 12 gauge because 12 gauge wire handles about 20 amps. So 12 gauge is fine, but if you're running a lot more power supplies and you're running them down into one wire going from your capacitor to your amp, you're going to need thicker wire. So, but I've got a single 12 gauge from the power supply up to the capacitor. Then from the capacitor I've got right here is 3 16 gauge because I ran out of 12 gauge, but I've got 3 runs of 16 gauge going directly to the amplifier, and two 12 gauge ground going directly to the amplifier, because you can only get so much power out of the power supplies, but because the power supplies just charge up the capacitor, the capacitor gives large amounts of power in bursts to the amplifier. So that's why you need more wire from your capacitor to your amp. Otherwise you're going to be starving your amp. But how I've got all 5 subs wired up is this stub is a 2 dual voice coil. I've got 1 voice coil on one channel, 1 voice coil on the other. Make sure the positive and negative don't get mixed up, otherwise the sub will do nothing and you'll just fry the voice coil. But on the one channel of the 2000 watt amp, I've got the left sub of my duals and the left sub of my 15s on one channel, and the same for the other two. Close my door. Up front, I've got two 6.5 inch speakers, two 8-inch speakers, and 6.5 inch end table speakers. Again, I have this speaker, and that speaker on one channel, that speaker, and that speaker on the second channel of my 300 watt Pioneer amplifier, which is also powered by a 580 watt computer power supply. Now I've got a little switch wired up here to turn my amp on, so all I have to do is reach around, turn the power supply on, and then turn the amp on. But what I've got for audio is iTunes on my computer. All my music stored on an external hard drive, 750 gigabyte, but I've got a simple little headphone wire that turns into RCAs on the other end, like here. We got little female connectors here, so I can add an extension to go up to my selector. My computer is number 1 on my selector, my PlayStation 2 is number 2, my Xbox is number 3, but from there it goes up to the back of my 5 CD changer, again using RCAs. Then from the speaker output of my 5 CD changer, it goes directly into the speaker level inputs of my amplifier. Some amps only have RCAs. If your amp only has RCAs, you can get a high to low level converter. You get your speaker level input here, and then you got your RCAs back here. Then what I've got is RCA splitters on both of them. And then I've got one RCA running up to the 2000 watt and another set running over to my 500 watt. I'm using this this power supply only to go to the remote ons of both amplifiers and to power the fans to keep them cool. But like I said, the other 3 are used to power this amp, and that power supply to power that amp. Now to split the power load evenly from all the amps, I've got 12 gauge wire running from that power supply back to my capacitor back here, which is connected to that amp and the 2 power supplies, because I said one power supply is only powering this amplifier. But that's how I have everything hooked up. If you have any questions, just write some comments now to listen to it play. Metallica, song is 1. Oh, and if you want me to turn them on, kinda help if I turn it on. You can either use 9-volt batteries to charge up the capacitor, or using the green wire out of the 24-pin connector, connect it to a black wire. I've got a little switch to turn them on, but if you don't want to use the batteries, all you have to do is keep on switching it on and off until it charges up enough. With an old power supply, you're going to get a lower voltage. When you turn on a newer one, you're going to get a higher voltage. But look at my next video, listen to it play.